Lil Eskey, nice to meet you.
Yes, you also.
Lil, you participated in our case study where we measured your blood before and after taking Novos products for 6 months. Your results were stellar. Your pace of aging, which is the gold standard in measuring how fast or how slow you age, above 1.0, and that means you're aging too fast. Below 1.0 means you're aging slower than the average, which is good. You started at a 0.99, and after the 6 months, lowered to 0.94. And your most recent test result was 0.77, which means at that rate in 10 years, your body would have only aged about 7.5 years, which is a massive reduction in your pace of aging and one of the best results I've seen personally. And it's no wonder that you qualified for the Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Was this your first time following a longevity specific regimen?
Yes.
What inspired you to want to join the case study? Like when you heard about the case study and Novos and longevity, what were your first impressions, expectations? Were you aware of the background on longevity? What kind of inspired you?
My passion is health and fitness. And so with my free time, not only do I exercise and stay active and do, those kinds of things, what I love listening to and learning about is health and fitness. And so a lot of the people I follow talk about longevity. So I incorporated some of the things into my life, but I'd never done anything with such a focus until I started Novos.
Tell me more. What were some of those sources that you would read or listen to, some of the topics that you would learn even before that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that most of my learning comes from different podcasts. So I love Andrew Huberman. I love Rhonda Patrick. I follow Ben Greenfield. Like I love the hacks, and I follow kind of a primal way of living or going back to what our ancestors did. So it's mostly through podcasts, and those are some of my favorite, but I probably have 10 to 15 I follow that are health focused. And so some of them focus on longevity and some just touch upon it.
And since this is audio only, people listening in should know that Lil is currently walking on a treadmill during this conversation.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Is that something that you were just trying to squeeze in a movement during your day, or is it are you busy schedule, can't find a time to work out? What is the thought process behind the walking treadmill that you're on?
I prioritize working out every day. So it's not about not creating the time for that. I set my life up so that I go to bed at 7:30 once my little guy is down. And then I wake up, and 4 o'clock's my wake up time. It's my quiet time before the kids wake up. I get my workout in. I get my sauna in. I get my cold plunge in. I get some yoga in. So that's like my time. That's like what helps me create a masterful day. And then the rest of the time is I try to move my body as much as I can. So if we're going anywhere that's within a couple miles, I hook up my bike and the bike trailer, and I pull the kids, and we'll pick up groceries, and I pick the kids up from school on the bike, and my older kids always hated it, but like on their birthday, I would drive the car. They're like, oh, finally. They hated it. They're like, Mom, why do we always have to bike everywhere? I'm like, there is no need to get in the car when it's 2 miles away. Let's move our bodies, So we have all these different types of, we have stand-up bikes, and we use rollerblades, and we have a tandem bike, and we have a half bike, and we just try to move our body. So after our meals, we move our bodies for 15 minutes. So I love moving. It's, I do a 10-minute, like quiet, still meditation, but most of my meditation is moving throughout the day and in nature. I mean, right now I'm on a treadmill, but like I'd prefer to be outside in nature.
Absolutely. So you were generally health conscious much before embarking on this longevity journey that you're on.
Yeah.
When did that start? Like, was that from childhood? When did you actually get into that space where you knew health and longevity was a priority?
Well, I think it kind of happened out of necessity. When I was a baby, I had food intolerances and issues. My mom had to adjust my food and get congested and all these things. And then as I was a little bit older, I think I had seasonal allergies. And so I constantly had a sore throat. And not knowing any better, my parents would just take me to the doctor. And the doctor put me on rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds of antibiotics. And so as I aged, I got more food intolerances and more issues. And to try to um, live the best I could within all the things I was experiencing, I was looking for things. And I found, like, so I'm like, okay, I got to adjust my food. And then I just get more knowledge and more education. So I think it kind of happened. I feel like there's a lot of people in the health space, like they took it on because they had a problem they had to solve. And so I think with me, I had a problem I had to solve. I had gut issues I had to resolve. And because of that, I found a passion and interest in health and nutrition and, eventually longevity.
That's a really interesting story. Can you zoom in a bit more on if you're willing to share, what were those specific GI issues that you had, and
oh, sure, yeah,
what was that journey like? What did you experiment with? What actually ended up working? What didn't work so well?
oh man, yeah, sure. I mean, when I was young, due to a surgery my mom had, she wasn't able to nurse me, so she put me on formula, and I would break out and I would be congested, so she had to play around then. And then when I got to be in high school, I would come home from school with these terrible stomach aches. Like I would have to you know, hold on to my stomach, and I was just in so much pain. And so my parents took me to a lot of different doctors, and they ended up saying, "Oh, you have irritable bowels." But I noticed at that time, so it was in high school where I started making adjustments to my diet. And so I cut out dairy, and I noticed like a huge difference for me. But then as I got older, I noticed I had more intolerances where I couldn't do gluten or I couldn't do other things like that. And eventually I realized that most of the things I was cutting out is like, I'm probably better without anyways. So it's like, I don't have gluten and I don't have processed food, and we eat organic whenever it's available. And so it's like, at first I did these things because I was having stomach issues. But then I was like, oh, I really don't need gluten in my life. Oh, I really don't need vegetable oil in my life. And, did that answer your question?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think you mentioned that a lot of people embark on their health journey to solve a problem.
Yeah.
But for you, in your case, that was the same, but you stayed in this health journey because you realized you just feel better.
I feel better. And I found that I was passionate about it. And it's like, I may have started it for this reason, but I really love learning about this. And I love seeing like, oh, if I do this, how does my body feel? And experimenting with different things. And so, I've done different things as things come to my awareness, it's like, oh, having the windowed eating is great. And then it's like, okay, I'll do lunch and dinner. And then realizing, oh, this is impacting my sleep when I eat later. And since I'm only doing 2 meals, my meals were slightly bigger. And so then now I've adjusted to breakfast and lunch. And it's like, so I love noticing like, oh, look, my sleep scores are better when I eat earlier in the day. And so I am kind of driven by the data I receive too, and how I feel.
So you mentioned data. What wearables or trackers do you use?
Right now, right now I have a continuous glucose monitor on, but I kind of go off and on with that. That's super helpful. We have an 8 sleep mattress. So are you familiar with 8 sleep? Okay. So
Yes.
it's temperature controlled, but then it also gives me it tells me what my HRV is, my heart rate, tells me how I did with my deep and my REM sleep. So I follow that. And an Apple Watch. And I've had an Oura Ring and I've had different things, but that's what we have right now.
Do you follow a pretty strict routine when it comes to diet, or do you still find it possible for some variation, different recipes? Do you feel constricted and constrained by the dietary problems that you faced?
I think I have in the past, but I don't at this point. I feel like the way I eat gives me a lot of freedom, because if I deviate from it, then I don't feel good, and that doesn't give me freedom. My 16-year-old son, he is into MMA, and he's been working with a trainer, and his trainer has him eating pretty specific meal plan. And if someone offers him something like a piece of cake or something, at first he'd say, "I can't eat that." And I'm like, no, Roman, that is not empowering you. You can eat that, and you choose not to eat that. So there's nothing that I have intolerances with, or like nothing's going to kill me. I'm not allergic to the extent that I'm going to have like major issues immediately. But for me, it's a choice. It's like, I choose not to eat this because I don't feel good. And it's the same thing. I've experimented a little bit with sugar, because I feel like you should be able to celebrate. If your kid's having a birthday and you want on special occasions to be able to celebrate. And I've noticed that for me, sugar impacts my mood. So I choose not to eat sugar, because when I eat sugar, I feel depressed. Not like immediately, but I'll be like, why is my mood low? Why is my energy low? Why am I more irritable? I'm like, oh, because I had something that was higher sugar. So I try to just really listen to what my body's telling me and make those adjustments. So I don't feel, I don't feel like I'm missing out. It's because I could do all those things. I could eat a standard American diet, and I choose not to because I don't like how it makes me feel. And I actually, for the most part, I don't look at standard American food and say, I want that. It's like, I like my healthy food. Like I enjoy what I eat. So I don't feel deprived, because it's like, I've created food that is like, that tastes great, and it's healthy.
Can you do a quick walkthrough of your meals throughout the day?
Sure. Like I said, right now I do more of breakfast and a lunch, and it kind of depends on what's going on with my mom life and all of that. But I generally have, when I wake up, a little bit after I wake up, well, I start my day with like a apple cider vinegar shot. And then a little bit later, I'll do a black coffee. And then when I've kind of gotten the kids off and I've finished up my exercises, because I prefer to do my workouts fasted, then I'll do my meals look like a salad is what, it doesn't matter if I'm eating it at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They really just look like a salad. So there's some base of greens or cabbage or, some salady kind of thing. And then I have some type of fat, generally like an avocado or something like that. And then probably a serving and a half of protein. Because I try to make sure to get my protein needs in to maintain muscle as I get older. So I do that, twice a day, but it's a substantial looking salad. And I, have some variety in there, maybe like some beets or some sweet potatoes, depending on like how active I've been, if I feel like I need it.
You mentioned mom life. How has being a full-time mom impacted, if at all, your ability to maintain a sort of healthy lifestyle?
Probably the biggest thing is the sleep. Like I prioritize my sleep, and that's challenging being a mom because you have things going on. Like I said, my son is transitioning from a crib to a big boy bed, and his sleep's off, so my sleep's off. And it's like, so I think the hardest thing about being a mom is just making sure your sleep is as good as it can be with the situation you're in, and it's like, you have kids that are sick, or now I have teenagers. And so they have different needs. And so that's challenging. And then life's just more on the go. If we're in town, we hardly ever eat out. So my food is at home. And I think that's another thing that's tricky for a lot of moms, is that they just grab food on the go, and then you don't know what you're getting, and you're getting stuff that you really don't want to be putting in your body. And so I always know what I'm eating. Like 99% of the time, I know what I'm eating because I've made it. So I think those are a couple things that are tricky for moms, but I've just kind of learned how to navigate those. And I have a super supportive husband, and he knows that, like, I got to get my sleep. Mom gets a little crazy. Like, nice mom goes to bed at 7:30. Like, she starts getting a little impatient, and he'll be like, let me take over from it's like, I've had him all day, and he has kind of fresh legs, been doing, other things, working, and then he can be a little more patient. So it's really great. Like, I wouldn't be able to have the life I have if I didn't have support. Then, even my kids know, they're like, mom goes to bed early, like, no, don't sign her up for any nighttime things. Not that we don't occasionally do that, but sleep is a priority in our household.
I love that. So during the past year or so, since you've been following the Novos longevity regimen, what lifestyle changes did you have to make, if at all? So in other words, besides taking the Novos supplements, anything different now in terms of your lifestyle than before?
I don't think so. So when I was actually taking Novos in the beginning, I was like, I don't think I can tell a difference. Like, I don't feel any younger. I don't feel any, like, anything. And then I stopped taking it because it was over. The study was over. And I was like, wait a minute. My sleep's not as good. Wait a minute. My hair's not as shiny. Wait a minute. My skin's not as great. So it was actually like taking it out of my life that I was like, oh no, I can tell a difference. So that was kind of interesting. And, I will take supplements, and sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if I can tell a difference. Should I even be taking these? And so it was really interesting that it's like, I didn't notice, and maybe because it was more gradual, but I didn't notice, like, oh, hey, my skin's looking really great. Or like, oh, my sleep's really great. Like, I'm not waking up at 3:00 and, whatever. And then when I took it out, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to add that back. That makes sense.
It does, yeah. I was actually going to ask about any notable changes that have happened since beginning this regimen, but I think you answered that question, which is super interesting. I think we think about a lot of supplements on the time scale of days and weeks, but when we're talking about slowing aging, that has to shift to a time scale of not days and weeks, but more months and years. Right. And that is something that is difficult to conceptualize, but I believe that using the blood tests and getting actual hard data is one of the key ways that we're able to, mitigate those small, almost imperceptible changes.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit towards something more philosophical, what does longevity mean to you ultimately?
Oh. I don't know if I've necessarily thought about it exactly like that. I don't necessarily have a desire like Dave Asprey to live to, I can't remember what he said, like 180 or something like that. Like, I have no desire to live that long. I just want the time I'm living to be good. Like, I want to feel good. I want to be mentally sharp. I want to be physically sharp. I had some kids earlier and then I had some kids later. It's like, I want to be able to throw my kids around and my grandkids around. If I still have another 25 years or 30 years before my youngest one chooses to have kids or not, it's like, oh, I want to be active. Like, so mine's not necessarily, I want to live forever. Mine's more like, I want the time I'm living to be good. I want it optimized. I don't want to deal with a lot of sickness. I don't want to deal with those kinds of things. I just want to feel good while I'm here. And I'm okay if it's not until I'm 200. I don't need that.
So on our website, novoslabs.com, we have a free longevity quiz that gives you a score of how well your lifestyle is optimized for longevity. I'd love to ask you the first question of that quiz. It has to
Sure.
do more along the lines with your personal motivation for, slowing aging. And so I'll
Yeah.
read you the question as well as the answer choices. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So what would be most important to you if you slow down your aging? And there's 5 options. Having more energy, living as long as possible, having a younger appearance, preventing or healing diseases, having optimal cognition. So I'll read it back to you again.
How do you
Having
choose
more
those?
having more
All of them.
energy.
All of the above.
Of course.
Can't answer
Oh,
that because don't they
oh,
all play into each other?
absolutely. I think we all want all of those
Yeah.
things, right? But I think that
Yes, I want all of them.
yes is the answer. Very
Because I
good.
don't, like I said, I don't care if I live forever. I just want, while I'm living, I want to be cognitively sharp. I definitely care about the appearance, the vanity side. It's like I want to look as good as I can for as long as I'm around. So no, all of those. The only one, like I said, is like I don't
The
need to live
lifespan.
forever. Like, yeah.
Very interesting. So you want to look, feel, and be as healthy as possible for as long as possible.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like if you're right, there's Eric. Hello. Yeah, sorry, lost my train of thought.
So you basically want to look, feel, and be as healthy as possible for as long as possible.
Yes.
So last question, anything else you'd like to share about your longevity journey thus far? Perhaps some words of wisdom to depart to your
Man,
peers?
gosh, as far as words of wisdom go, I think you stumped me on that one. Any lasting things? It's no, I don't have anything in addition to share.
Think about other moms who are maybe wanting to achieve what you've achieved, but they haven't been able to, or they're maybe new moms. What would you say to them?
Well, I think there's a struggle being a mom, feeling like when you take time for yourself that you're being selfish. And it's probably not just moms, it's just all of us, that if we take too much time for self-care, then it's could be looked down upon. And I feel like if you don't set yourself up in a way that allows you to be optimized, you can't really serve the people around you. So it's really important, as cliche as it is, to fill your own cup before you can fill someone else's cup.
Beautiful. Lil, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.